Hi, I watched KINNPORSCHE and here's my review. Kin, the son of a mafia, runs into Porsche, a bartender, as he is running away from people who want to kill him. As Porsche helps him, Kin asks him to become his bodyguard. Guys, this drama is a very good surprise for me. I went in with not such good expectations actually because of the theme of the drama that is kind of mafia-ish with gang type of stuff that I don't like. If you watch my video, I always mention that I don't like this. So I was not very excited about this, and also because I heard a lot about the nudity in this drama, I feel like it was a very big argument against this drama. I know I read a lot of stuff saying things like, yeah, KINNPORSCHE is only popular because people just want to see two guys sleeping together and stuff like that. So yeah, since I'm not necessarily a huge fan of these kind of things as well, you can imagine how very mitigated I was about going into this drama. But first of all, for the nudity part, very surprised because from what people said, it seemed like it was full of it, a lot. But it's not the case actually. It's a lot less than some other drama who are notorious for this. However, it is true that when there are scenes, they are a bit not completely explicit. By this I mean you don't see everything, but almost everything, really. So I don't necessarily like this as well. But ultimately, there are not many scenes. I was really expecting, like I said, something like a bed scene every episode. It's not like that at all. So yeah, these scenes are very spicy. If you like spicy, you like it. It's not my thing. But yeah, although I can overlook this because it's not that present in the end. So yeah, first this, it's very nice that there is less than I thought there was going to be. And also, of course, the mafia side. Not gonna lie, I absolutely hated the 15 first minutes of the drama. We get both characters for the first time. So first we get from Kin's side, from the mafia side, yeah, doing some mafia stuff. So of course, for me, yeah, whatever. I don't like it. I was not excited at all, not interested at all. And of course, at the same time, we get to know a bit about Porsche as well. And without revealing anything, there's something happening with him outside the bar he's working in. If you've watched it, I think you're going to know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you'll have to watch to know. But there's this thing happening, and I really don't like this as well. So, very difficult 15 first minutes. But of course, I was not going to drop a drama for 15 minutes. I've been in drama land long enough to know that you can't stop at 15 minutes. So I continued, and pretty quickly, I think the introduction we get to both characters is actually not very representative of who they are really and what they act like. It's not a very good portrayal of who they are, in my opinion, because they end up both pretty different from how they are represented in the 15 first minutes. And so that's something I like about this drama, is that even though it is very mafia-ish, I think it brings something different, because without saying too much, Kin, the second son, so the main character, is pretty different from your typical tough, bad guy, emotionless and cold guy. Is pretty different from this. Also, the character of Porsche is very interesting too. Is, I think, a type of character we don't see that much. Sometimes it feels a bit like a comic relief, even though he is the main character. It's quite unusual, but I like it. I really like it. Honestly, they both do a very good job, and acting-wise, I think everyone does a very good job. But I have to say that the actor playing Porsche really surprised me. Also, the actor playing Vegas, like this. Honestly, it's very good acting in this drama overall. Also, the OST is incredible in this drama, and also very great production. So paired with a good OST, good characters, good acting, it's a win. Even if you're a bit like me and you're not really into these kind of stories, and I think that's why I couldn't give it more of a higher rating, because ultimately the story isn't really my type, and I think that's a bit of a problem with the drama, but maybe it's just me, is that I think the first 6 episodes are a lot stronger than the remaining episodes. I was so into the first 6 episodes, I just couldn't stop. Watch, everything. I binged so hard. And starting from 7, I think it gets a bit less interesting. I don't know if it's less interesting per se, but I was a lot less into this part, unfortunately. Also, without saying anything, I think the transition between episode 6 and episode 7 could have been done a lot better. I was very disappointed by the transition. However, there's kind of a side story, a very short, few minutes side story that actually comes between episode 6 and episode 7, which makes actually the transition a bit less weird, but still not ideal. So tiny disappointment about that. It's nothing much, but still it's important, right? So overall, this is a drama I absolutely recommend if you don't mind mafia stuff, violent stuff, because sometimes it can get a bit violent. Also spicy stuff. And maybe, some kind of more mature romance as well. So if you're really into all this, I would advise you to try this drama. And if not, maybe try it and you would be surprised like I was. History is written by victors. So this is a sentence that Kin's father says at the very end when everything is resolved and all is good. So this makes me wonder, and it's probably done on purpose, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but this left me wondering if in the end what we think is the truth isn't. Because for the longest time in this drama, every time you think you finally know what the story is, it always changes. Always changes, especially towards the end. We get different sides of the story. We never know what the real story actually is. And when we think we finally know and everything is done and over, we get this phrase, history is written by victors. So this makes me believe that Kin's father still lied to the very end, and we still don't know the whole truth of what happened at that time. Okay, so now a bit on the characters and their relationship. So first off, real quick, I want to mention Porsche and Kim. So these two, clearly Kim manipulated Porsche for a very long time because he wanted information about Porsche, that's for sure. But to some point you can see that he grows some affection to him, and by the end I think he does love him. I think that's what this song he sings at the end is supposed to mean, that he loves him as well. So yeah, a bit sad they don't end up together. But the very big thing I wanted to know, and that we didn't get an answer for, is what happens to Porsche, because he was supposed to go to this interview in this school, but he didn't go. So what happens to him? Because clearly he can't continue to university, he can't continue with music. So it would have been nice to know what he was going to do next, especially since Porsche was so happy to bring him to university and see him continue going to school. So a bit weird that we never got an end for this. Then real quick, of course, I have to mention Tan-kun, who was the real diva of this drama. A very over-the-top character, but very likable as well. However, in these kind of things, it's always the kind of thing like you can't trust anyone, and we have a big example of this with Porsche and Kin, who seem to not trust each other until the very end. which I dislike, by the way. But yeah, as a result, for a while, especially at the beginning, I was scared he was the one who was the mole and telling information about the family. I was scared he was going to be the traitor, but no, he is not, and I'm so happy about this because I was not ready for him to be one of the baddies. So I'm very glad he ended up just normal, that his personality was not kind of made up so that no one would think it could be him. Now entering into mitigated territory, we have Vegas and Pete. How could I say this? In the first place, individually, both Vegas and Pete are pretty interesting. I think more Vegas than Pete because Pete seems more normal than Vegas, of course, and I think until the end he still is, even though they kind of have the same past. But yeah, even though I think you get a pretty strong dislike for Vegas in the beginning, he's still interesting as a character. It's interesting to know more about him because at first not really, because he doesn't have any layers and anything. He's just presented as an evil and weird guy. But later on, when we get to know more about him, it's no excuse for acting this way, but you know that clearly he has some trauma, a lot of things not going on in his head, right? So yeah, I think you can, as a viewer, get a bit of affection for his character, even though he does, or he did, a lot of terrible stuff before. But now, going into the relationship between Vegas and Pete, honestly, I'm very mitigated about it. Okay, let's say if we remove everything bad between the two of them and we only keep the cute stuff between the two of them when they get to open up to each other, everything nice between them, if you only keep that, I really like it. I wasn't expecting this couple at all, I have to be honest. And yeah, if you remove everything else, I love it. I think they are very cute together and they can go very well together. However, the fact that Vegas captures Pete, humiliates him, tortures him, and keeps him kind of as his pet, which goes back to being humiliated. I mean, and Pete falls for him in this situation. There was kind of some build-up before that there was kind of going to be something between the two of them. But it was very weird still. I was like, okay, hello, Stockholm Syndrome much? But what I try to tell myself is that it's a drama. It's a piece of fiction. I'm not watching a real life thing. I try to go like this, like, okay, it's clearly not ideal. It's very weird, but at the same time, I'm being weird as well because when they are cute together, I found them cute. Like, it's like when you finally know about Vegas, it's kind of like you want to give him another chance to redeem himself. You want to give him a chance to do the right things when he realizes, thanks to Pete, that it's not him the problem. In the first place, the problem came from his father. That, anyway, you watched the show if you're in there, so you know what I mean. It's like you want to give him a second chance, and at some point you see that he does care for Pete a lot. So you feel for him. But at the same time, he did such terrible things to Pete. I'm very, very mitigated because I feel like at the same time I kind of like it, but at the same time, it's wrong. It's completely wrong. And in real life, I would not support this at all. At all. Not at all. You, Vegas guy, you go in prison and you never come back. You rot there. But it's fiction. I'm a bit weak. I think something that also I think helps me kind of like their relationship is the fact that they really make Pete realize that it's wrong. That the feelings he has for Vegas is kind of wrong. and he really tries to go against his feelings for Vegas. So I think it's a nice thing that they do that they don't just show Pete being just so easily swayed, if I could say, and be in love with Vegas very easily, if I could say. So I like that he tries to repress his own feelings because he doesn't want to, which is completely understandable. So yeah, I guess, yeah, Vegas and Pete, Stockholm Syndrome in this drama. In real life, absolutely no, completely no. But it's fiction, so I'm more of a yes, no, yes, maybe. Like this. And finally, I want to finish with our main couple, of course. So first, I really, like I said, I really like that both characters are so different that what you could expect from main characters for a genre like this. Kin does a lot of mistakes, of course, and he does apologize a lot, but at least he apologizes. We still have a lot of dramas who don't take place in mafia settings and who don't apologize. So at least he does, and you can feel his sincerity when he does, so it's very well done. It doesn't feel like he says sorry because he has to, because he's forced to say sorry. He says it because he feels it really, and he wants Porsche to know that he is sorry. Anyway, so Kin is actually very, very different from what you would think, and it's actually said pretty quickly, or implied pretty quickly, when we get to know that they kind of call him like the weakest link, like the family is going to collapse with him. And I think it's because it shows kind of his softer side. So yeah, Kin's personality really, really different from what I thought, and as well for Porsche. We need more main characters like him, who are a bit funny, a bit all over the place, and yeah, just really funny sometimes in how relatable they are. Really, really nice character. Wasn't expecting this at all from him, and I loved it so much. But because of the theme, of course, of this drama, I was scared until the very, very last minute that it was going to end badly, that both of them were going to die, or at least one of them was going to. And I'm super glad it ends well. I think they both deserve it at this point. Maybe the only thing that disappointed me a bit is that Porsche gets to be in charge of the minor family. From one side, it's a very good thing. For the mafia side, it's a good thing because this way both families are kind of reunited. But for Porsche's side, it's so sad. Like, he can't go back to living his life. He is now someone very important as well. He was in the first place for his status of being Kin's boyfriend, but now he is also the head of a family. So he needs protection of himself too. So very sad, because you know that he would be and feel better out of all this, just like Kin, like anyone, I think. And also bye his dream, by the sea. In my opinion, in my point of view, it's not an overly good ending, so it makes it quite realistic, but not necessarily to my liking as well. Now I want to talk a bit, especially about the first time they get to sleep together. I know this scene kind of made debates among people who watched this drama, so I wanted to address it a bit, of course. But first, I want to say that I like that they still managed to make a good transition from how bad their relationship is in the beginning and how it transitioned to them being so cute together and so in love and so believable as well. Because starting so badly, could be very difficult to believe in their love story later on. But it's very, very well done, in my opinion. I think most of it is thanks to the scene in the woods. I think it's my favorite scene from the whole drama because it's out of the mafia, it's in the woods, so in nature. I love it. And they are handcuffed, so they have to do everything together. It's the perfect opportunity to get to know each other, and Kin knew that clearly as well. I think this scene is perfect and really help change the relationship between both characters, especially after that thing that happened between the two of them when Porsche is drugged, right? Because yeah, it happens after that. And it's good that it's finally a moment for Kin to finally be very honest with himself, because before that you could see that he was sorry, he wants to apologize, he wants to make things right. But at the same time, when you watch it, you feel that there's something stopping him, and you can't imagine him going to Porsche and apologizing. It feels impossible. But yeah, it's this little trip in the woods was the perfect opportunity, and I think they played it very well. I'm sure it would not be to everyone's liking still, but at the end of the day, I'm like, it's fiction. They are both adults. It's okay. That said, this doesn't stop me from not liking the first time they sleep together. While he apologizes and you know he's very deeply sorry, you feel that he's really sincere about it. I still don't like it at all. Okay, it's Porsche, really. But he was clearly drugged and Kin knew it completely, so it was kind of his duty to not do anything, right? It's something I always very, very, very dislike in any drama, is when one of the characters is under the influence of alcohol and the other person can't stop themselves. And I'm like, what are you? I mean, can't you refrain your pulsions, your urges? Can't you be a distant human being and not be so horny you would jump on everything? Like, I mean, okay, it can turn you on, but you can refrain still. You can stop your urges. You can know what is wrong and what is not wrong. So don't do it. But it happens, so very, very, very disappointed about that. And I will always be very disappointed about that, because even though if on the moment the person is okay, if when they wake up, sometimes they are still okay with it. I am not okay with this. You shouldn't do it. It's not right. It's not right. But in this fact, it's when he wakes up, Porsche is not completely okay with it. It's a bit blurry, I think, how Porsche feels about all this. Clearly, he's not feeling alright because he's getting flashes and he's not doing okay at all. But they still remain a bit blurry as to why. Was it because he really disliked it and because, you know, he felt like he had been used? Or is it just because of the fact that he slept with him? They kind of remain blurry. So in my opinion, I took it as it was a bit of both at the same time. I mean, for example, sleeping with a guy or a girl, or anyone for this matter, sleeping with someone and then waking up and regretting it is one thing. Regret is not rape. It means you wanted it as well, but then when you wake up, you regret you did it, but it's not rape, right? You just regret what you've done and you have to live with it. But in the case where someone is under the influence of alcohol or drugs, then even if they consent, it's not real consent because they are not completely master of their emotions, of their thinking, of their brain, of their logic and everything. I guess if you're under the influence, sleep with someone, then wake up, and you don't regret, I guess it's good. But most of the time I feel like it's not going to be the case because you can't think clearly when you're in this state. Again, I think it's easy to let your urges speak for you. But if you're clear-minded, even if you shouldn't, you just shouldn't let your urges speak. Even if they want to speak, you should shut them up. Like, no, he wants to do it with me. I really want to do it with him as well. But I am not drugged. I am the bigger person. I'm not going to do this. Since it's fiction, I can kind of roll with it, even though I don't agree with it. Again, if it was in real life, a huge no. Like, no. Clearly, no. And a guy who does this to me, I'm never seeing him again. In real life, it's a huge no. But since it's fiction between two adults, I don't know, I'm more prone to be, okay, I don't like it. But like I said, As well, I think later on they make such a good development between both characters, their relationship, how they even talk about it. Because normally I would still feel pretty weird if the relationship had started like this for any other drama. But I think they do a great job to lay everything flat and address things, to kind of start on a good start again, to kind of restart things. Yeah, and actually talking about that, something that I didn't really like as well is the lack of trust in their relationship. Maybe I think for Kin it could be a bit more normal, knowing from where he's from, but at some point it goes until the very end of the drama, and I'm like, can you trust each other at some point? Especially when they kind of swear to never lie to each other again, or more like never keep secrets from each other. And 2 minutes later, literally, Porsche keeps a secret from him. We've been through this already. Why are you doing this again? So yeah, that's the thing I think that disappointed me the most in this drama, is the lack of trust. Even though it's understandable for each side why they wouldn't trust, I think at some point you can't really love someone if you don't trust them. So, yeah. But anyway, in the end, everything is good, everything ends in a good note, at least in their relationship. They end up together, very in love, very sweet together. So I like this, I enjoy this a lot. And that's it for me for KINNPORSCHE. I think I talked way too much in this review, but I felt like I had so many things to talk about in this. So plot-wise, it is not ideal for me, not the best, but character-wise, acting-wise, OST-wise, production-wise, I really enjoy it a lot and a lot. Like I said, even if sometimes you don't necessarily like some relationships, characters by themselves are still very interesting. So I like it. It's not a perfect drama, but it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. There is a lot less nudity than I thought there was going to be as well, so that's very nice. I recommend it if you haven't watched it. For this one, I can't say that I'm sure you're going to like it. It's really up to everyone's taste and tolerance, I think. So yeah, I recommend it to you, even if it's not necessarily your thing. Maybe you could end up like me and liking it. If you've watched it, don't hesitate to tell me your own thoughts, if you liked it, if you didn't, why, and did it have anything to do with what I talked about in the spoil part, and if so, explain your reasons and everything. I'm all up to know about it, even if we don't agree. It's always nice to talk with people with different opinions. So yeah, don't hesitate to do that. And with this, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!